Genesis, Principle #6, Gen 3:16. Avoiding marital conflict. To avoid tensions in our marriages, we are to follow Christ's example of love. What happens in Genesis 3:16? Genesis 3:16 is part of God's words to the woman after the fall. Because of sin, pain, and conflict, what used to be a perfect, harmonious relationship between husband and wife is disrupted. God says that her experience of childbearing will now involve pain. Her desire will be for her husband, and he will rule over her. However you understand the complex phrases in this verse, the big picture is clear. Sin has damaged marriage. Instead of pure unity and partnership, there will now be tension, power struggles, misunderstanding, and hurt feelings. Marital conflict is one of the direct fruits of the fall. What the principle is drawing out. This principle is not saying that conflict is God's design. It is saying conflict is the reality sin created. Since the fall introduced tension between husband and wife, followers of Christ are called to respond differently. To avoid tensions in our marriages, we are to follow Christ's example of love. In other words, Genesis 3:16 describes the problem. The New Testament, especially in Jesus and in passages like Ephesians 5, gives the solution: Christ-like love that heals what sin has broken. Christ's example of love in marriage Jesus shows. Sacrificial love. He gives himself for others, not demanding his own way. Humble service. He washes feet, carries burdens, and puts others first. Patient forgiveness. He forgives failures and restores the relationship. Ephesians 5 applies this directly to marriage. Husbands are called to love their wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Wives are called to respond with respect and willing support, as the church responds to Christ. Both are called to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. This Christ-shaped pattern stands in contrast to the Genesis 3:16 pattern of power struggle, control, and harsh rule. How does this principle help avoid marital conflict? Living out Christ's love in marriage counters the effects of Genesis 3:16. Instead of a wife trying to control or manipulate, she practices trust, respect, and honest communication. Instead of a husband ruling harshly or selfishly, he leads by serving, listening, and protecting, not dominating. Both partners repent of pride, confess sin quickly, and refuse to use blame as a weapon. Each asks, "How can I reflect Christ's love to my spouse right now?" Not, "How can I win this argument?" Practically following Christ's example of love means choosing gentle words instead of sharp ones in disagreements, owning your part of a conflict instead of justifying yourself, making time to listen to your spouse's heart, not just their words, praying together and inviting Jesus' way, not the flesh's way, into the relationship. Summary of the principle. Genesis 3:16 shows that, because of sin, marriage naturally drifts toward tension, power struggles, and hurt. The principle reminds us that the only way to avoid and reduce that conflict is not by demanding our rights, but by imitating Christ's love. When both husband and wife choose Christ-like, sacrificial, servant-hearted love, they push back against the curse and move their marriage closer to God's original design of unity, peace, and joy.